Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let the record show that we started this regular IA meeting at 3:02 p.m. on July 15, 2021. We will start the agenda with a slight modification. Today is a very special day. We will be recognizing our good at-large commissioner, Commissioner Cummings, for her birthday today. You may not be used to this, but you'll find out that you will be working on your birthday a good bit, sitting in your seat. Oftentimes, this is how we start our day. Our day is on our birthday, so.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe that Mr. Haynes was going to be calling in.
Yes.
I don't know if he's on the line yet or not.
Mr. Haynes, are you on the line yet? Okay, he's not on the line. Well, he told us to tell you, wish you a very happy birthday. Made sure we did everything special for you, as this is your first birthday as our at-large commissioner, and as I like to say, my work better half. And so congratulations, happy birthday. We wish you many, many more. If you guys want to go up to the lectern and say a few things, that's totally fine. Okay. Name and address for, I'm just playing.
Good afternoon. I am Nikki Lindsay, and I am Carolyn's younger sister, or youngest sister. And we just love her dearly in our family. And we just wanted to make it special for her and tell her happy birthday. And as a matter of fact, my son standing right here is his birthday too. Okay. So he was born on her birthday. And I have a nephew that's also born on her birthday. So the 15th is a special day in our family. So I love you, Carolyn. That's my daughter, Joni, and my son's girlfriend, Melanie, and Jace is actually Carolyn's godson as well. Beautiful. So thank you all so much for allowing us to come in and celebrate my sister, and happy birthday, and we love you.
Thank you. So I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to let you guys in on a little tradition we have at FSU football. Whenever there was a birthday or something positive would happen, Coach Bowman would always ask us to give him three. It's just three succinct 1, 2, 3 claps. That's it. And so for Commissioner Cummings' birthday, I'm going to ask us all to give her 3. So let's give her 3. Oh, y'all catch on quick.
All right.
Coach Bowman would be so excited.
Synchronized.
So excited. All right, so let's get to the business. Ben,
yes, sir.
We should have, hold on, we should have a relatively short agenda that I think is 4 items. I'm gonna pull a mayor daily and say I want us out of here by at least 3:50, but if we have to go over, that's fine. That's fine, totally fine.
Hopefully that doesn't jinx it.
Hopefully it doesn't. I just put it out there, okay? But we'll take as long as we need. We'll take as long as we need, but I don't suspect this should be a long agenda. Ben, let's start us off.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, the first issue is actually Commissioner Welch, as many of you know, you just did this at the county commission meeting, is away, but we do have a policy at the IA allowing for telephonic participation. Commissioner Welch is in the chambers on the phone. I think a motion to formally allow him to participate.
Mr. Chair, so moved.
Second.
Motion made by Chairman Minor, seconded by Commissioner Porter. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Commissioner Welch, welcome to the meeting. Next item.
Thank you very much. No agenda modifications.
Thank you.
Moving right along, we're at speakers on non-agenda items. I'll turn it over to Ms. Emanuel for that list.
We have 2 speakers on non-agenda items. Our first speaker is Meta Calder. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please. You get 3 minutes.
All right, I'm Mita Calder. My address is 3740 Ravine Drive, Tallahassee. I'm the chair of the Natural Resources and Clean Energy Committee for the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee. Okay, so I think I sent this statement to you all, but I'm going to read it. It's not that long. Recently, the Sierra Club and the League of Women Voters issued a statement regarding the proposed Project Mango to the County Commission at their July 13th commission meeting. In reviewing the project documents and developing our statement, We learned about the process the Office of Economic Vitality uses to recruit businesses to our community and to develop its incentive packages. Our comments are directed towards strengthening the city and county's clean energy policies as a prospective project moves through the Office of Economic Vitality's targeted business program application process. In particular, we'll be pleased to see that the TPBP is designed to help implement Tallahassee-Leon County's long-term vision for economically viable and environmentally sustainable growth. In exploring the TPBP's scoring system, we happily discovered that points are awarded for environmental sensitivity. However, while we are glad that points are awarded for the brownfield remediation, conservation easements, and urban forest protection, we were disappointed to see that no points are awarded for mitigating the effects of fossil fuel energy use and climate change, such as constructing buildings to high-performance green building standards and committing to installing rooftop solar. It is clear that both the City of Tallahassee and Leon County have in many ways demonstrated an awareness and have initiated programs and policies to address these concerns and move towards a renewable energy future. For example, see the city's resolution to be carbon-free by 2050 and the county's integrated sustainability action plan. But we can't get there unless we encourage our private business partners to be part of this effort. And what better time than before the building is built? We are very pleased that Project Mango agreed to include EV chargers, for which they received no points, in their site plan. Our recent proposal for Project Mango also recommended such items as incorporating green building practices into their warehouse design and including rooftop solar on their huge roof. As has been demonstrated over and over, any initial upfront construction expenses are quickly recouped by future savings in energy costs. We are proposing that the Office of Economic Vitality consider adding these and other green incentives to their scoring system. This is entirely consistent with the direction our community has been moving toward and incorporating into our policies and practices. At a minimum, this would place these sorts of amenities on the table at the beginning of the process rather than after the offer is made.
Time.
That's it?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, next speaker. Any more speakers?
Next speaker is Stanley Sims.
Mr. Sims, name and address for the record, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
is it okay if I let Ms. Rollins and Ms. Jefferson go, and then I go after them?
That's fine. Ms. Rollins, name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
My name is Renee Rollins. I live at 2415 San Pedro Avenue, Tallahassee, Florida, 32304. My business is World Class Academy of Beauty Careers. We're actually the only African-American beauty school in this region. We're a nationally accredited school. I have like 30 students at the most, men and women. Barber, we have classes in nail tech as well as skincare. We've been in Tallahassee, we've been in school 17 years. Last year, we were able to give out $38,000 in stimulus money to our students that we had pulled down from the government's office. I'm here with help. Help has been kind of really steering us and helping us to stay on track. I don't know how we made it through COVID, but we did. So I just wanted to just come in and sit in and just let you guys know, we have entrepreneurs. That's what we produce. Like, we're not producing a lot of jobs. We're producing a lot of entrepreneurs. We have 3 girls, actually. They couldn't be here today, came out of Second Chance. Their parents really had, they couldn't do anything with them. All 3 sisters graduated from our school last year during COVID. Now they have a business over on Tharp Street called Image, it's an Image Lash Tech Boutique. So they're doing lashes. I mean, they just took off. And their mother was so proud because to see their child come out of Second Chance, where everybody looked down on them, to now being business owners in Tallahassee area is phenomenal. So thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker.
Antonio Jefferson.
Mr. Jefferson, name and address for the record, please, sir.
Antonio Jefferson, 914 Railroad Avenue, Tallahassee, Suite 32. Antonio Jefferson, President and CEO of the Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce. Stand here to, in support of our member, Stanley Sims. He has a proposal that at some point will be before you. In the proposal, the Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce is mentioned as an element of the total package. And just to let you know, as we would with any member of the Big Bend Minority Chamber of Commerce, provide support for our members. If this project moves forward and Mr. Sims is awarded, we will work with him to ensure that all aspects of this project meet the community expectation of ensuring that the investment that we make and you make in this community is one that realizes the return as Mr. Sims will be presenting to you. So with that being said, members, I thank you for the opportunity, and Commissioner Cummings, thank you for sharing your special day with our entire community and all the things that you do within the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stanley Sims.
And if we could fast track to the goals portion of it.
I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Stanley Sims. I'm a business owner at 603 Martin Luther King Boulevard. I've been a business owner for over 20 years. I have over 25 years of nonprofit experience. I've received a state award from Governor Jeb Bush when his brother, George Bush, initiated the faith-based initiative. From receiving that statewide recognition, I also received a national award from the President of the United States, where the White House Office of Faith-Based Initiative came to us. Well, not to you, but they came to Havana, Florida. At that time, I was leading an organization called a Shepherd's Hand Resource Center. And I told them it's not fair to come to Tallahassee. We brought the executive director of the Office of Faith-Based to Havana, and we did substance abuse training right there. I only brought that up to mention in my longevity of working in this community, but not also my longevity in working with our community partners. I wanted to highlight two issues that I think that are very important that this does. Our federal government, now first I need to let all of our taxpayers know three things. One, I don't expect you to give a ex-felon $1.37 million. That's why I have the good support of our Big Bend Minority Chamber, and not only just our Big Bend Minority Chamber, I also, in your recent packet, you will see a letter from the Tallahassee Chamber. This packet is in line with the goals of our president when it comes to soft as well as hard infrastructure. One of the things that we want to do that make sure that we get more bang for our buck of our federal taxpayer dollars and not our local taxpayer dollars is what we're going to ask all of the participants in this grant in their MOU. You spend your dollars inside of Leon County. So you will be assured that all of this money will be spent with everyone inside here, and if it cannot be found inside of Leon County, they have to provide the Big Bend Minority Chamber, who will be the fiscal agent who oversees this, a justification as to why. This is about job growth. So many times, people have came and said what they think we need. This is not a new program. This project was introduced to our community under the leadership of our former mayor, Andrew Gillum. It's a research-based program. It's called social entrepreneurship. And during a pandemic, social entrepreneurship is defined where there is a human service need that cannot be met, and local government partners with the private sector.
Time.
May I have 30 seconds, please?
30 seconds. Ma'am, start the clock. Yes, sir. You said 30 seconds. I'm giving you what you need.
Private sector is not hiring us, and I mean communities of color. We have our own city of Tallahassee. Don't even want to pay our lowest paid $12 an hour. They're telling them to hold on to 2026, while our city manager holds on to $236,000. In the last 10 years, he's received a 15.8% raise every year. That's a collective of 140%. I'm not begging for that much. Is that
Thank you,
enough?
sir. Yes, sir. All right. Any other speakers?
We have an online speaker.
Okay. Name it. Go ahead.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Are
name
you
and
able to
address for
hear?
the record, please, sir.
Yes, I just want to make sure you can hear me. Can you?
We can. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Jeff Blair, 1803 Old Fort Drive. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Keep It Rural, Woodland Drive Neighborhood Association, and the Alliance for Tallahassee Neighborhoods spoke during this week's County Commission meeting requesting that real-time virtual public comment be retained as an ongoing policy. Now we are requesting that an agenda item be added to the next Blueprint Intergovernmental Agency meeting to discuss options for citizen input after the COVID-19 emergency procedures are lifted. During that meeting, direct staff to prepare an analysis of ways to expand citizens' involvement at or before Blueprint meetings on policy issues, including codifying a mechanism and procedure for providing real-time input virtually during the scheduled public comment opportunities provided during Blueprint meetings. Exemplified in the overall goals of the county strategic plan of enhancing public involvement, consistent with the general statement in Tallahassee City Commission policy that it is the City Commission's policy to provide meaningful opportunities for members of the public to participate in city meetings, and also consistent with Leon County Board of County Commissioners policy on citizen input, that the board recognizes the importance of protecting the right of all citizens to express their opinions and encourages citizen participation in the local government process. The BPIA should proactively take every step to ensure that it is easy and safe for citizens to participate, including the option for real-time virtual input at all Blueprint meetings going forward. It is difficult for many citizens to take the time from work and family obligations to drive and park downtown when we now have viable options to allow for meaningful citizen participation using internet-based technologies. The disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic provides an opportunity to enhance the public participation procedures in Blueprint meetings, workshops, and public hearings. Our laws and policies predate the internet era and do not take into account modern tools for public engagement. This should be rectified by codifying procedures for real-time virtual public comment during all Blueprint meetings. In an effort to enhance the public's ability to participate in local government decisions, making it only makes sense to put in place clear, accessible, and transparent procedures for public participation, including providing, as I've described, a mechanism for real-time virtual input during meetings that is easily accessible and broadly communicated to the public. Your constituents are asking that you amend, as required, any relevant Blueprint policies and procedures to expand public participation opportunities, including a mechanism and procedure for providing real-time input virtually during all Blueprint meetings. We heard during the County Commission meeting some of the reasons given for not supporting this as cost and increased staff time. This is certainly a small price to pay for increasing opportunities for public participation. In my experience, running meetings tells me that there is little extra effort required to provide virtual real-time
Blair, that's your
opportunity
time,
for
sir.
citizen involvement.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. That's your time. Any other speakers?
No other speakers.
All right. We'll get back to the agenda. Mr. Pingree.
Yes, thank you very much. You have one presentation in that section on the agenda, and to introduce our speaker very briefly, Director Paredes.
Thank you, Ben. Commissioners. Before I introduce Jim, I just wanted to take a moment to highlight some good news that we just heard right before the meeting. We learned that the Office of Economic Vitality earned 4 awards from the International Economic Council today. So the details on what programs will be released this fall, and we'll be very excited to share that good news. So thank you for your leadership in that. Also, the U.S. News released some rankings about the top 150 MSAs. Tallahassee ranked number 14 for quality of life and 78 overall.
Say that one more time.
Tallahassee, Florida ranked number 14 with the best quality of life and then 78 overall. So very good news for our community, and I just wanted to thank you for all your leadership over these last couple of years. It certainly shows, and so thank you. Today, Jim Mcshane will be before us to talk to you about employment trends. Jim is a wonderful partner and chair of the Career Source Network. He works across 3 counties, Wakulla, Gadsden, and Leon County. He is an integral part of our workforce development efforts. Recently, he, Kim Moore, and Shelley Bell gave a presentation to the Economic Vitality Council on working within the trade skills. This kind of followed. I know several of you were able to attend the Tallahassee Chamber's Talent Forum, so that kind of followed the IT and healthcare trends that they were talking about as far as workforce development goes. When you look overall about some statistics for our community, we're seeing wages increase overall in our community, which is a really good sign. Last year, they were, from 2020 to 2019, they were up 6.8%. There is one important caveat here. If the employment levels were the same as they were in 19, that would have been 2.9, which is still over the average. Average is about 2.5. So we are seeing a steadily increase of wages across our community. Our unemployment is fluctuating around between 4.1, and our private sector numbers are growing as well. So overall, very good, optimistic and opportunity as we reach forward. And, you know, Jim being one of those key cogs in our wheel for making workforce happen. So with that, I am pleased to introduce Jim Mcshane.
Thank you, Christina. I appreciate it very much. I would like to just comment that the IA board is a wonderful foresight and future thinking board, and I appreciate that as a citizen here in the community. So I'll give you a little highlight of what we do and what CareerSource does, and also some of our relationships we have in the county. So we're federally funded by the U.S. Department of Labor, HHS, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We have multiple programs, 6 programs that we operate on behalf of our 3-county area. We're part of a nationwide group of over 500 workforce boards that serve the entire United States, so there are workforce boards throughout the country. We work directly with DEO and CareerSource Florida, which is our oversight board that oversees all 24 workforce boards in the state of Florida. We're heavily engaged with probably 40 to 50 local partners in the nonprofit arena and in the for-profit business area. Our CareerSource Capital Region serves all businesses, trying to help them find the talent, and therefore we are a talent supply mechanism and sort of like a supply chain for our businesses. We have 3 staff that work with our local employers to post jobs in Employ Florida, and which is our statewide job posting site. To keep communications open, Christina and I meet on a monthly basis. She also sits on our CareerSource Capital Region Board as one of the required partners that is in our federal law, and is supportive of my regional effort with the Workforce Alliance across 9 workforce boards in 3 states. Kevin Gerke from OEV and Larry Minnick from our office have worked together to organize and set up the manufacturing group in our region. We're concerned that we want to make sure that as we're looking at the pipeline that's coming forth and that our employers need, that we have the proper kind of training set up in for that pipeline. The data capabilities of OEV are key to our managing workforce data and understanding the current conditions. I am working with OEV on creating a data dashboard for our workforce board to see how we can respond to the changing talent demands we're experiencing today post-COVID. Our current conditions in the labor market, we have over 1,000 jobs available posted. As of June 1, we had 8,500 formerly employed people that have not reengaged in our labor pool, and we're hoping that those folks will start to come back as schools reopen. One of the issues we have, though, is our Early Learning Coalition. I just came off a board after 8 years of service. We don't have enough capacity in the child care area, and so many of the child care providers are turning people away because they do not have the capacity to add and accept more children. And that's one thing that I think will be solved by some of the federal money that is due to come down. Our labor participation rate is 62%. That means out of 100 people that could be engaged in a job, we have 62 of them that are actually engaged. So we have some work to do on getting people re-engaged into the workforce. Visits to our office are still down 60% from pre-pandemic era. And as you heard, our unemployment rate continues to go down, which means we're really getting close to full employment. Really, anything under 5% is considered full employment. We're down around 4%, and before the pandemic, we were at about 2.8. So we're probably going to get there pretty soon. Future market shortages will continue. I've shared with all of my partners demographic drought by EMSI, which is a study about what's happening with the labor market overall. The fact that boomers retired during the COVID time, instead of 2 million retiring, 1.5 more retired, so 3.5 million retired. And we still have issues with trying to fill jobs, especially high demand jobs. Since the establishment of OEV and Christina's leadership, we're working hand in hand to serve the Leon County businesses and the job seeker community. Resource Capital Region has excellent relationships with Lively Technical College, with Kaiser University, and with TCC and others in our area. And in summary, our short-term skill upgrades are what we're anticipating will be in high demand for the foreseeable future. We all know that there are construction jobs that are going to be in need of filling in our region as construction starts to come back, as the new police station goes up. We're working closely with those involved in that, but we really have to start to develop a really strategic approach to how we work with our school systems in creating pipelines that are going to fulfill those future needs. And that's what Career Source Capital Region is here to do. And with that, I'll take questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Jim.
I'll jump in, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Do we still have Jim?
Yes, we do. No, we don't.
No, we
Do we?
don't.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, we do. I'm having delay response over here, so I'm going to take my video off so I can not lose what's going on.
Thank you, Jim. Commissioner Dozier?
And as a proud District 5 resident, that will be my next call from Mr. Mcshane, who's always on top of his neighborhood issues with broadband and utilities. So thank you for that. We understand. Jim, I really appreciate the update. And just a question on the child care needs. I actually ran into you and Christina one day talking about this issue. And so I know it's something that you've teed up in your monthly meetings. I'm glad there'll be federal funding coming down, but it also seems like something we could focus on from the entrepreneurial end. I know a few folks who've received loans from the revolving loan fund at the Planning Council for child care centers in Gaston County. And I just wonder if there was any other strategies that you've seen put in place to encourage the development of more child care centers. Obviously, we want quality, but is there anything else we could do to help fill that gap? It's been ongoing, and I know it's getting more difficult.
Jim?
And I can say, Commissioner, speaking with Liz Murphy at ELC here for our region, they're about to get a fairly large amount of money. Our hope is that we can train more individuals to be able to work at those centers, because that's one of their issues, is they're having a hard time finding the staff to staff up and to be able to add more children to be served. But it is entrepreneurial, and it is an area that is just very key to people being able to go back to work and to be able to get a good job and not be worrying about their children. So it is something that we all need to focus on, and how do we better integrate that?
Thank you. Well, for our purposes, I mean, we've got the new Revive small business loan program through ARPC, the Step Up at FAMU. Both could be applied to daycare centers. And it was a big help for Gadsden County. They got 2 new centers, I think, owned by the same person through those loans, a woman entrepreneur. So it's just something we can push out. The only other thing, Mr. Chair, and I hear you about the 350. I will say, the agenda is probably the shortest I've seen in blueprint history.
We can go ahead and say I was a little ambitious.
You might have been a little ambitious, sir. I mean, even 4 items.
I got another
But-
number in my head. We'll see if we get there.
Okay. Well, I will not ask to dig into this next part at this time.
Thank you.
In deferences. However, we have, as a board, I was trying to look back at some of the other items. I know we talked about workforce in 2019. You brought us an item, Christina, on that. I thought we had requested a presentation at some point, talking with some of our workforce partners. And I know we've gotten a lot of information, and you've got a roundtable meeting, right? Is that what we talked about during briefing, Christina? So you're engaging with these folks on a regular basis?
Yes.
Okay. I think for our purposes, in a sunshine meeting, we all hear a lot of information between chamber presentations and other presentations, the critical needs in the workforce training area. And if there's anything that we can support through OEV or some other city-county programs, I'd really like to dig into that. I'm hearing even greater nursing shortage at TMH and other things. Construction is an ongoing issue. So as we look forward to our standalone OEV meetings, even if we didn't have an action item, for my part, and hearing, some of you all in the past, Commissioner Richardson, you've brought this up several times, with your experience at Lively in the past. I think we may benefit from a deeper analysis of where the workforce gaps are, and if there are training programs that we might be able to help support. We got a lot on the table. Tremendous work at Lively, TCC, and with CareerSource and new programs coming online. But I think that is one area that we could look at next year. And Mr. Chair, I don't know if we need any board direction because that's kind of been on the table already, Christine. I'm not sure if you need anything else, but I just wanted to highlight that for today with Jim's presentation.
If there's a direction there, I think it'd probably be helpful to go ahead and just formalize that.
Okay, well, if you don't mind, question, for the standalone OEV meetings, were you looking at agenda items that may not need action? I mean, those types of presentations as well to fill out some of the programs OEV is working on? Or have you started thinking about that yet? I know it's a ways away.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
And as has been covered in the presentation today, talent development and workforce issues in general is something that we, beyond monitor, we actively engage in. But if there's a component that you would like an agenda item to be brought back specifically about, I want to be sure that our team captures it.
Okay.
If you wanted to make that into a motion, we'll prepare for one of the OEV meetings, a standalone agenda item on that issue.
Okay. Now that we have the opportunity with standalone meetings and we don't have workshops in Blueprint, I mean, that's kind of where my mindset is in that workshop presentation. I'll make a motion to have a presentation at some point with our workforce partners, a deeper dive into the workforce training programs we have and the needs, kind of what they see as the trends going forward at one of those standalone OEV meetings.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded.
Thank
All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries without objection. Commissioner Dozier?
That was it, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Jim, and forgive me. We had announcements of awards from OEV from, if I'm remembering correctly, nationally recognized economic development directors. So this is one more year with kudos to OEV. So thank you. We're starting off on the right foot.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Seeing none, we'll move now to consent. Are there any items pulled from consent?
No, sir.
Consent has been moved by Commissioner Richardson, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Without objection, we'll go down to general business. Item number 3. You want to introduce the item?
Yes, very briefly, Mr. Chairman, of course, as we note, we have a new chairman here today. Welcome. That happens, as you may recall, that happens immediately upon date time specific, so that's why the chairman is new and in the chair. But it also indicates the time that we as an organization must select the new vice chair. This time, as the agenda item covers, that vice chair must be from your city membership. With that, we're here to answer any questions on the item.
Thank you. Looking
Mr.
forward.
Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to move that Commissioner Richardson I'd like to nominate him to be the next vice chair.
Motion been made for Commissioner Richardson, seconded by, made by Commissioner Williams-Cox, seconded by the mayor. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries without objection. Item number 4.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, if we could just take a second. Commissioner Williams-Cox, thank you for your service as the outgoing chair. It was, interesting year, and I thought you did a great job, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chairman Maddox, thanks for stepping up. We're going to have a great year. Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Williams-Cox, my chairman, you did a magnificent job leading us through some of the most difficult topics we've had to get through as a board. And I appreciate your leadership and the way you led us.
Thank you. I think I'm having withdrawal because I come today with a headache. Thank you.
Yes. We are at the final item on the general business agenda, item number 4.
Very briefly, Mr. Chairman, yes, this is a request for authorization to initiate our procurement process at Blueprint to advertise, negotiate, and award, and move forward with the Capitol Circle Southwest Greenway and Trail. As the item covers, that includes 3 different components, both at the Debbie Lightsey Nature Park, the Golden Aster Trail, and the extension of the Greenway from Lake Henrietta South along the Munson Slough, all within Capitol Circle Southwest, all on the south side, in accordance with your budget. We do have a brief presentation, but that's the short version, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a motion for staff recommendation of approval?
I'd like a question. before you take a
I'm sorry.
motion.
Commissioner Proctor?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Before you take a motion, Mr. Chairman. What is the minority built-in participation for this particular project? What is the designated minority participation in this project?
That's right. As we develop the RFP process, Commissioner and all commissioners, it will follow exactly the IA-approved MWSB policy levels. So that's what will be published, and that will be the target that is
I know
sought
that
after.
those targets fluctuate, and I was looking for a standstill figure before we jumped out the box.
Mr. Jones, do you have a number for us, sir? I see him coming down, unless you already know.
I just don't have the policy committed to memory.
Okay.
I want to say it's 14.
Well, we got a man whose job it is to have it committed.
And he's
So
smiling.
uncommitted for us, Mr. Jones.
Oh, yes, for a project of this size and half the MWSB goals for a construction project would be 14% MBE participation, 9% WBE participation.
Boy, you made me proud.
And the good part about it with us now with our reciprocal arrangement with OSD, we'll now be able to have just that many more vendors who will be available to make certain that we won't have to, that we'll be able to meet those aspirational goals.
Oh, so now you're showing off.
I'm asking for robust participation and robust engagement with MBE, that this should be a new flagship standard, in particular because you're on the south side. When you're coming on the south side, we cannot half-step and dilly-dally around. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
One of the good things, Commissioner Proctor, that you'll take great comfort in is the MWSB office works closely, first of all, with the FAMU Small Business Development Center, so we can make certain that the firms that are responsive are optimally prepared to meet that opportunity. Also, at your leadership, we've been able to make monies available through the FAMU Credit Union that they can now use those funds to make certain that they're able to respond to multiple projects simultaneously. And then we'll work with partners like the Big Bend Minority Chamber and the Capital City Chamber to also optimize that level of engagement to make certain that we have as many firms available to respond.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr.
Chairman,
Jones.
I saw this project is, what, is it 4.3 million or something like that? And 14%. Okay, I've calculated it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Commissioner Jackson?
Yeah, I would love to recommend option one. seeing as how-
Motion been made for option 1 by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Richardson. Commissioner Jackson?
Just brief comments. Although it says southwest, Commissioner Proctor, we share kind of some lines down that way, and whether they're blurred or whether they're very clear, I'm excited about seeing something
Beautiful.
something like this come to the Lake Bradford community, and it's long overdue, particularly for the spot where it's coming, and it's got amenities and landscaping and lighting that has been heretofore unseen in the western half of western part of Leon County. So it's a super exciting time for District 2. Thank you for allowing me to make the motion.
Thank you, sir. Motion been made for staff recommendation of approval, made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Vice Chair Richardson. Is there any objection to that motion? Seeing none, we'll show it as passed, and I'm at 3:43, and I'm done with the regular agenda. What part do we have now?
Next is citizens to be heard, and then director discussion. Then
Are there any citizens to be heard?
No, sir.
All right, look at that.
Mr.
I'm not
Chair.
gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it. Y'all gonna.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna help you make it. Commissioner Cummings' aide is on the line. He wanted to, he tried to get in early, and he'd like to say something in regards to her birthday, because he was the sponsor of those cupcakes. And he has told me that those cupcakes must be distributed. They cannot be left here.
Well,
If
since
you
he
would give him an
was,
opportunity to say something.
yeah, since he was late, he gonna have to stay on the line till we get done, and then we would let him. No, I'm just playing. Chauncey, go ahead and say something to your boss, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there won't be any confusion. I appreciate you, Commissioner Diane Williams-Cox, but I know, as your pastor always says, the best county commissioner on planet Earth, Commissioner Carolyn Cummings. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew, all in Leon County, that today was her birthday. So I just wanted to call. I could not be there today, so I just wanted to call in and wish her a happy birthday again. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for your indulgence.
Mr. Chairman, that's a man who knows how to keep his job, isn't it?
Yeah, ain't it? Well, that's job security right there, ain't it? I appreciate it. Again, Commissioner Cummings, congratulations, happy birthday, wish you many more.
Mr. Chair, may I just
please.
thank my
Yes, ma'am.
aide and all of you for the recognition? It's brief. Certainly thank Chauncey, the best commission aide on planet Earth, but thank all of you guys for the accolades.
County
Don't
commission
forget,
aide.
everybody must get a cupcake. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I have Commissioner Dozier and then Commissioner Porter. I'm sorry, yes.
I guess we'll bring the mic back
I'm sorry,
over.
before you go, any other commissioners want to get in queue? Because I will not be asking you.
Yes, sir,
again.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, so I
Mike.
got Commissioner Matlow, Commissioner Proctor. Anybody else? All right, so I have Commissioner Dozier first, Porter, Richardson, Matlow, and then Proctor. Commissioner Dozier?
Okay, well, I'm going to start out here and say, we have the new discussion item section. I thought a short agenda would be the perfect time to bring up a few things that none of us want to talk about after 9.5 hours in this room. Mr. Chair, you put us on the spot here, having a goal for 350. So I'm wondering if there's some big event other than Commissioner Cummings' birthday party that we need to get ready for, because this does seem like a
Commissioner
good
Dozier,
time
while
to
you're
get
asking me
into a
that
couple
question,
items.
you could be articulating what you want to get out, and we can get out of here before 3:50, or maybe even a little bit after. So I don't want to have to explain myself in the process of it. So if you could articulate what you got on what you need to
Okay.
put on the agenda, then we can move. Thank you, ma'am.
And I will say the tone set is not encouraging for discussion, Mr. Chair. So thank you for that. That's why I asked
I think
the question.
earlier when we had a discussion, you said I wasn't going to make it. I said there was another number in my head, and I
Okay.
said I was a bit ambitious. Again, if we can stop this part of the conversation and actually get to the business that you want to discuss, then we can move. Thank
All
you.
right. So, the green building incentives, or not green building incentives, forgive me. I said the green and sustainable incentives mentioned by one of our public speakers earlier, Mita Calder. This is a conversation that has gotten started in recent weeks. We have only seen a couple of incentives come through the TVP program, and I think it is an opportunity to reflect on other carrots, other incentives that we might put out there for businesses that we're recruiting to our community to help us meet the city's clean energy goal, the county's sustainability goals, and others. In talking with staff during briefing, Christina, correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, but you said that in the discussion about our strategic plan, which is forthcoming in both September and December, right? We'll see a mid plan update, I will say, in September. You said we're going to have an opportunity to reflect on the incentive programs at that time, right?
That is correct, Commissioner. As part of the strategic plan update, we are taking a look at our overall incentive toolkit, including that the sustainability.
Okay. So I'm not going to make a motion for these issues today. I truly appreciate Mita coming today and other citizens who have been interested in this, and I just wanted to reinforce that I hope we can dig into that a little bit more when we get to that discussion in September. So that was the first one, Mr. Chair. The second one, Mr. Jeff Blair mentioned the same comments he made at the County Commission meeting this week. At that meeting, we approved an agenda item to come back in September to give us an analysis of continuing virtual comments as a permanent policy, not just under our emergency declaration. So I would like to suggest we do the same. For one reason, that if the county and/or city were to move forward, it would be nice to have consistency. But I think virtual comments are very helpful for those who can't make it here during work or due to accessibility issues or other things. So I'll make a motion to bring an agenda item back in September outlining cost, if we would like to see that, staff time, and how we could formalize a policy for virtual comments on an ongoing basis.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Everybody understand the motion on the floor? All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Commissioner Dozier?
Thank you. The third issue, I really don't want to rehash all the details from the last meeting, but I do feel like I need to bring it up based on our past chair's suggestion. I met with council, and Susan, thank you very, very much for our meeting. We spent a long time together along with the county attorney
No, hold on, Commissioner Dozier.
and
Hold on for a
worked
second.
through.
Mr. Sims,
Yeah,
do not do that.
I did what you told me.
No, I did not. What I said to you was a commissioner would need to make a motion in order for your proposal to be actually looked at by us. I didn't say, and I said I was chair and I cannot make a motion. I did not say
that. I didn't say that. What I said was, he said he was the chair, he holds the chair and couldn't bring up the motion. So don't misquote me.
My name shouldn't have been brought up at all. Thank you, Mr. Sims. If a commissioner wants to bring up Mr. Sims' project for us to consider, I'm willing to entertain that. But I, as chair, will not be making a motion to do so, and I will continue to have my gavel. Commissioner Dozier, please. Thank you. I'm sorry.
All right, Mr. Chair. Among several issues that we talked about, this was related to our discussion at the June 15th meeting on conservation easements. And it was very helpful. Forgive me, Mr. Chair, I got thrown off there in my notes a little bit. But just wanted a little bit of clarity on this, because it was my understanding from talking with our infrastructure staff, Autumn, after the meeting, that part of the discussions related to the conservation easement, the existing one that will be impacted by Wolani Boulevard, may include offsetting that 10 acres that are taken with other property. And I just wanted to confirm that those conversations are happening. And the question that I had at the last meeting was about potentially offsetting that with additional property. So, Mr. Chair, then if I could have Autumn comment on that
You want
from
Autumn
the
to comment?
infrastructure perspective, and just so I can understand it a little better, because Susan, you and I had a chance to talk about this in the ownership of the property, and Blueprint cannot own the property, correct?
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, any conversations that we have are going to be consistent with Blueprint policies and
Sure.
procedures.
Yeah.
So, we had that conversation. It was about a 2-hour conversation, but I think, it was clear as to, what the law requires, what our policy requires, and that may include a substantial amendment if that's the direction of the board, or some other sort of entity, taking control of property.
Right, and thank you for that clarification. Forgive me for jumping into that first. That was where we kind of decided to have the conversation after last month's meeting, and we are on the same page, absolutely. We understand each other. I just wanted to understand better what is happening in the process of dealing with that conservation easement right now, and if there is an option for this board to do a substantial amendment, if we were to consider that, to offset the taking of that 10 acres with additional property in that portion of Welaunee by Roberts Road, the District 5 of Welaunee.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
All due respect to this board. A meeting Commissioner Dozier and the attorney had for 2 hours, I don't have the benefit of the context of a substantive ask and reach. This is reaching back to a meeting which an issue was agendaed. Everybody and their kinfolk was here to comment about it, and we're asking questions that I have no context to, and I think it
Mr. Chair.
overreaches, Mr. Chairman, for my consideration. I don't know what she said with this lawyer. I don't know what she said to her, and she's dragging this out here for us to make some decision on that she had in private with them. I need all
No,
of the
sir.
information. That's what I'm
Commissioner
saying.
Dozier, let him fix
This is not
that.
fair,
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor.
The
Commissioner Dozier,
fairness
you want to
here-
clarify?
unfair.
Okay, we talked about a number of different issues in 2 hours. It was not just the conservation. So just to be clear on that, my entire intent, Commissioner Proctor, is to get some clarity here at our meeting for all of us, because I wasn't able to ask these questions on the June 15th meeting. And as our counselor just said, the information you provided that night was accurate, I agree. There was another component about how we move forward with this, and I just wanted some clarity on that. It is absolutely germane to the work that we're doing as a board, and I was asked by our past chair to go and talk with the council about it and bring it back up if needed. So that's exactly what I'm doing.
Did you receive the clarity you seek?
Sir, that's why I'm asking the question of, I don't know why this is so difficult. I am asking the question of our staff because the question I had on the June 15th
Commissioner
meeting
Dozier,
has
the only reason
still
I asked is
not.
because if you didn't get clarity yet, I was going to tell you to continue with your questions. That's all I was asking.
2 hours talking and you still
Commissioner
ain't got
Proctor,
questions.
Commissioner Dozier has the floor. Commissioner Dozier.
This is unfair.
Commissioner Proctor, Commissioner Dozier has the floor. Commissioner
saying.
Dozier.
It may be helpful, Mr. Chair, if I had an opportunity to clarify what my goal in asking these questions was.
Commissioner
That we-
Commissioner Dozier, your goal in asking the question has been clarified. What I'm saying is that we all understand that day you weren't able to ask the questions that you wanted to ask. And so you asked them after, now you want to put it on public record and actually get them answered with us here. So what I'm saying is continue to ask the questions so we can all get the clarification that you received. But I'm not requiring you, nor is any other commissioner here requiring you to explain yourself as to why you're asking the question.
I think Commissioner Proctor was, but let me leave it here. I don't need to repeat what I said earlier. If anyone else needs clarity, they can do exactly what I did and talk to staff after the meeting. Our council has just clarified the portion that we talked about. My question that I was not able to ask at the last meeting is for our Blueprint staff, our Blueprint director, on what the current status is of offsetting the property and negotiating, and whether or not we as a board could consider conserving, protecting more natural environment in this area than we are taking for Wilani Boulevard. That's all it is. It's a question that I got from citizens. So I would like to know, one, what the status is, and two, if it's possible for us to protect more of this incredibly sensitive land. It's very simple and very on point. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Attorney?
I'm sorry, this is for Autumn. I
Okay,
think,
Autumn.
Susan, you've
Actually,
already
I can
clarified your
address that.
point.
I
of
can
this.
address that. The conversations are ongoing. In fact, there's a meeting set for tomorrow, and we'll see, what occurs there. However, under statute, under the eminent domain statute, we are required anyway, once we get to a certain percentage, 60% of design for right-of-way, where we are required to do pre-suit negotiation. So we will engage in that. We're still early in the process, but the talks are ongoing.
Okay. And
Hopefully
part
that
of that,
answers your question.
part of that could be monetary, or it could be offsetting with other property that potentially cost Blueprint something, but we
Well,
would.
right now, the direction and what's allowed under our policies and procedures would be monetary.
Okay.
Because statutorily, we pay what the value is for the conservation easement for the property that's needed for right-of-way. And the school board owns the land, so, they would be part of that conversation.
Anything else to add from the infrastructure side?
Well, I think that we've been meeting with the stakeholders in that area for going on 2 years now. And as the attorney mentioned, we have a meeting tomorrow afternoon. Really looking forward to it. Big milestone, getting the PD&E approved allows us to really start working with them on what their interest is in the conservation easement, and starting really with the school board, being that they own the underlying property. But I think any substantial amendment would have to be initiated by this board and not by staff.
Okay. Thank you very much, both of you. It was not that hard to get some additional information on this. We've made a decision to run Wilani Boulevard out to Roberts. We're taking property from conservation easement. It was a sticking point throughout the discussion since December 2019. We've all heard it. We also talked about a habitat conservation area in the District 5 of that Wilani master plan along Roberts Road. Questions have come up from citizens in the area that oppose the road. They accept the decision, and they would like to know if we are interested in conserving more property in that area that was, developers can offset some of their, I'm not going to get into that detail. We don't need to, but they can use that area. So my suggestion, what I was going to ask for in an agenda item last time, was just to look at what that substantial amendment might be. It wouldn't be adding a huge segment of a road on Bannerman or something like that. A substantial amendment is adding a new project to the blueprint list. 2/3 majority can get it done. It would just be conserving some of that property. So, Mr. Chair, I think there is an agenda item that could flesh that out, so we don't have to be in this position and everyone can have all the details. I'm not asking us to move forward on it or spend any money. I would just like to look at what that could look like to conserve some of that property. So would that, Ben, Autumn, would that be an agenda item that, or is a status report on the agenda that we could get?
Let me see if this is helpful. So there's nothing in your project description at this point in time that has us buying conservation land.
Yes.
There is, in your project description, us buying right-of-way for the road. If your question, if I'm following it correctly, and I think I am, is what would it look like if the IA board wanted to expand the project definition to include us buying somewhere around there new conservation land? As the attorney has shared, that is a project modification. If you want to know what that would look like, that would be an agenda item, and we would take the board's direction on bringing such an item back with that analysis.
Does an agenda item come back after you finish negotiations with school board, the others related to the conservation easement? We don't get an agenda item back after that, right?
I don't
Okay.
believe so, no.
I just wanted timing. I didn't want to load this up. So I think this is just pretty simple. Just looking at this, I'm not looking to add a lot of costs. We have a whole lot of projects on the list, but we're doing a greenway, everything else. I'm just looking for some information. So I'm going to make a motion for an agenda item just to flesh this out. So we have in print our council and blueprints, specifics on this and what that might look like.
Motion been made by Commissioner Dozier. There a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Porter. Commissioner Pratt, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's dead wrong for us to go back after we have voted on a deal. The issues which are being raised now with conserving additional property, we had the opportunity while the clock was ticking prior to our final vote. I think it's also wrong for us to go out and raise the bar and lift up a higher bar than the law prescribed on the front end. We have an extraordinarily gifted attorney whose eyes and understanding of law have been impressive to me over the years. And I think that had there been a failure to meet the letter of the law, she would have more than told us those things. The developers at this point have met the letter of the law. It is wrong for us afterwards to come back and say that, can't we take a little bit more land to conserve? No, we have already agreed to an agreement. And to come back to squeeze out and to eke out and to seek out additional is I don't want to be a part of anything two-faced. Now, I felt that it seemed more difficult since Commissioner Dozier could just reach back into for these understandings. It would be helpful to me if people who have paid city utilities could vote in the city's elections in the South Side. There are precincts that will undergird the cost for this community for which she wants to conserve more land. It's frustrating that people pay the city for its utilities and very close contiguous lands and properties and can't be in the family of Tallahassee City. That's significant to me. Going after and conserving additional land. We had choices of existing roads no one wanted to look at, Miccosukee and the other one I've drove down 1 trillion times. Look, this game is done, it's over. Fourth quarter is ended. Overtime is ended. You can't go back and replay the game when the final whistle is concluded. And to my mind, we would be more than two-faced to come back after the game is over and talk about conserving and changing some rules. And if we had needed to have done that, our lawyer would have told us that. And I think that more so that this conversation, the time you gave it, is significantly, is indiscriminately wrong. To my time, it's not on the agenda. You let this be reawakened, Mr. Chairman, and hold the line. This is wrong. Let's vote this down so we can go.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Any other comment?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
with due respect, that mischaracterizes, this is not about the owners of the property. It's not about the right-of-way. It's not about anything we've done in the past. This is this board's intent to look at environmental conservation and infrastructure. It's just an agenda item. It is not going back on anything, and I think our attorneys and our staff could speak to that in an agenda item, but we'll let the board vote.
Yes. Clarify the motion, Commissioner Dozier. As I understand it, the motion is for us to bring back an item looking at environmental conservation and infrastructure related to the project in question, correct? Or no, it's just general environmental conservation and infrastructure. Just articulate the motion so everybody understands, because there was a lot of words in it.
We have made a decision as a board to take 10 acres from a conservation easement that a lot of people, we should all value, and we need to do that for a road.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, Commissioner Dozier, real quick.
The motion
Okay.
is
Yes.
to look at adding a small little project to our blueprint list. This has nothing to do with the past projects, where we may be able to protect in excess of 10 acres, just a little bit more than what we've taken. It would require a substantial amendment because it would be a new project on the blueprint list within the habitat conservation area designated as District 5 within the Wulani Master Plan. It would add a little money. It could be connected to our greenway. It would be additional recreation land and an amenity for the area should we choose to do that. It is not unprecedented. We've done it before, and it has no bearing on past decisions. This is something unique, and it comes after the road decision. So it's simply an agenda item, so we don't have to do this round robin. So we get it in black and white, and we can have the discussion. That's it.
Everyone understands the motion on the floor? There's a second to the motion still. Commissioner Porter. I have Commissioner Minor, Chairman Minor, and I have Commissioner Cummings in queue. Commissioner Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a very quick question for staff, just to reconfirm. And I think Commissioner Dozier has already stated this, but I want to get clarification before the vote. The motion, as you understand it, does not require us to renegotiate anything in our past decisions. I know Commissioner Dozier's just said that, but I want to make this crystal clear.
Yes, that is my understanding. In fact, on the clarification of the motion, it's clear to me now that this is not a modification to the Northeast Gateway.
No.
This is a modification to the blueprint project list to create a new project. So it is clear to me it has nothing to do with, I suppose, the Northeast Gateway project.
Okay. I've got some reservations about increasing to our blueprint list and increasing potential costs for those projects. We've already got projects right now that are not funded, so I have some concerns about that, but it does put it reassures me that we're not going backward. We're looking at adding things without having to renegotiate anything. Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Madam Attorney, the mayor just asked me a question. I wanted to make sure we address it with you. As I understand it, new projects can be added to the list if there's a supermajority of the vote of this board to do so, correct?
Yes, that's correct. It would be the substantial amendment process.
Right.
So you'd have to go through CAC,
Right.
TCC,
Right.
IMC approval, and then it'll have to come back for a supermajority vote of both sides.
And all of this will be included in the agenda item if this passes, the process that we would have to go through, correct?
Yeah, that would be in the write-up, sure.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Cummings, final
Yes.
comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a clarification question, and I think perhaps it has been answered when Mr. Pettigrew said, well, no, that's a change, but I think you changed position now since she clarified her motion. So it would just be a totally new project. Doesn't have anything to do with what we've already voted upon.
Commissioner Richardson, as a good Baptist preacher, final comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With all due respect, Commissioner Dozier, Kate McFall came to our meeting the other day, and the representatives from the Animal Services Center have come time after time. I know that there are modifications being done for that facility, but it's not what we promised them in Blueprint. We're talking about 20 years out, providing services for the animals that are rescued and taken to that center. And to say now that we're going to contemplate adding another project with more expense when we're telling them we may not even get to you in 20 years, I can't see us doing that. And so for that reason in particular, I couldn't support the motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Plus, Mr. Chairman, you're asking my district to pay for something else.
Commissioner Proctor, recalling the
We done
vote.
paid enough
Commissioner
money.
Proctor, recalling the vote.
We done paid
All those
enough
in
money.
favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Can we do a roll call, please?
I think
Roll
we'll
call.
need a roll
Staff can
call.
do it.
Mayor Daley,
No.
Commissioner Matlow,
Aye.
Commissioner Porter,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
No.
Commissioner Williams-Cox,
No.
Commissioner Cummings,
No.
Commissioner Dozier,
Aye.
Commissioner Jackson,
No.
Commissioner Minor,
Aye.
Commissioner Proctor,
No.
Commissioner Welsh,
Yes.
Chair Maddox.
No.
Motion fails, sir.
Motion fails. Commissioner Proctor, I now recognize you to make a comment, then I'll go back to you, Commissioner Dozier.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is spoken for itself. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Dozier.
I respect the vote, Mr. Chair, and as I move on to the last item on my list here, I do want to say, Commissioner Richardson, you sounded like I did a few months ago. We have added so much to our budget because we have advanced 15, 16 of our projects into the first 5 years. It is extraordinary to me that this board has been so willing to advance projects when they come to roads and bond projects, but not small environmental projects, which is what I was looking at.
Commissioner Dozier,
And,
I
Mr.
appreciate,
Chair,
Commissioner
no.
Dozier, I appreciate the fact that you wanted that to pass, but it didn't. I don't want us to belabor the point by talking about what we've done in the past and how.
Mr. Chair, we've gone a lot of different
I would
directions.
really appreciate if we just focused on the moment. I get it.
I am focused on the moment,
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Okay,
and that is my final comment. There's been a lot of final comments on that one.
thank you.
I also think it's extraordinary how difficult these meetings have become. For our past chair, you said you walked in with a little headache, a little reminiscent of being chair. I get it. I'm hearing it from citizens all the time. None of us, I think, appreciate, I'm guessing, how challenging these meetings have been. We talk about diversity a lot. I don't think there's a lot of room for diversity of perspectives and how we do this job and the approach. Sure, I have a hell of a lot more comments than a lot of people. I have a lot more questions. That's how I approach the job. I get a lot done with those. I never question how any of you do the job. It is our prerogative when we get to this table. The tone set at this board, though, is really concerning to me. And Mr. Chair, one of the things that really stood out to me in some of our past meetings is that the application of our rules, and this board is governed by a policy for Robert's Rules of Order, straight up and down. We police ourselves. We can't rely on staff. We shouldn't rely on staff to jump in and say, you're not following Robert's rules. We can ask a question about a motion. We can ask a question about discussion. But it has stood out to not just me, and frankly, citizens who have agreed with my points and disagreed with my points, that we don't always follow our policies consistently from the beginning of a meeting. And I believe strongly that if we had a better understanding of that, we would be able to work better as colleagues. We would have an understanding of how the meetings are going to flow, and might not get into some of these long drawn-out questions about process. A year ago, May, County Commission had to take up this question. We were bound by Robert's rules, and we weren't following them consistently. County attorney brought an item and said, do you want it as a guideline, which gives us a little more flexibility? Or do you want to hold to Robert's rules 100% of the time? I think that's a question this board needs to answer. And we can say it right now today, we're going to hold from Robert's rules from start to finish of a meeting, and every discussion, every motion, everything will be governed by that. And we all need to buy into that, because we're not. We have not been consistently. So, Mr. Chair, without having more discussion today, I'd like to ask for a similar agenda item to come back, and this was part of our long discussion with our attorney, and I truly appreciate you digging into that piece, Madam Attorney. And we had talked about that agenda item. The county attorney was with us that we had at the county last year. So I think this was in the right posture, but an agenda item just to look at our current policies and ask the question, do we want Robert's rules as a guideline, and what should be our procedures for the board? Or are we going to hold to a strict Robert's rules so that we can all get on the same page and have more collaborative working relationship going forward? That's my motion.
Thank you. Motion been made by Commissioner Dozier that we have an item come back looking at our board procedures in relation to being strictly Robert's Rules of Order, if we want to modify those. That's the motion, correct? Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, made by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Commissioner Matlow. I'll speak real briefly on it. prior to taking over as chair, I actually called on Mr. Pingree. He directed me to Ms. Dawson about what our procedures are, and she did inform me that we are strictly Robert's Rules of Order. Commissioner Dozier, you said, in fact, that we have been loose in the way we operated in that way. I am very much into running good, solid, flowing meetings. I think Robert's Rules of Order provides that. I will, instead of making an assumption, I'll ask a question. Madam Attorney, within your description or within your duties to this board as our attorney, is there one of you being a parliamentarian for this board when it comes to Robert's Rules of Order?
Yes, that's correct.
If that is the case, then we have someone who's here whose job it is, in fact, to put us in place when we're not within the rules that we're supposed to be within. Now, if she slacked on her job, that's your fault. We may be elected, but we pay you to do a job. And so if we're not within Robert's Rules of Order, I fully expect you to jump in front of me and tell me, Mr. Chair, you are not in order. And I, as chair, and any other commissioner that sits in this seat, I expect to respect the attorney's opinion, understanding it is her job to do so, and to move the agenda in the way that the parliamentarian says we should move. If there is a desire by this board to move away from Robert's Rules of Order, then that is what we do. But there is nothing wrong with the system besides the fact that we haven't been honoring the system and allowing or even demanding that the parliamentarian of this board do the job that we ask her to do. Or even, let's not even say that, let's say giving her the permission to do so. And so because of that, I'll be voting against the motion because I think Robert's Rules of Order works. And I also believe that it could work for this board if we decide to respect it. I have, Commissioner Dozier, not done yet. I have today been very, I'm gonna call it stern, but it's not because that's the kind of person I am. It's just we need order. The reason that this board happens the way it happens is because instead of sticking to the issue, we get into personal attacks against each other on things that aren't germane to the issue. For example, if you're Commissioner Dozier, the reason I asked that you focus on the next motion was because I felt like, and I could be totally wrong, but that comment was made towards Commissioner Richardson because he made a comment about the fact of why he was moving the way he was moving, but he get to move how he wants to move regardless of how we all feel.
Of course.
So, but my point is that just like I asked Commissioner Proctor to respect the fact of you as a commissioner have the ability to ask for anything you want to ask for, and you owe us no explanation whatsoever, unless you're trying to explain it in a way that we vote in your direction. I don't think we should be trying to point out to each other, well, you did this last time and this time. I want us to have some sense of order, some sense of decorum, some sense of camaraderie, some sense of respect amongst each other so we can get through these meetings without having a fight. And if I have to sit here and be the butthole in the meeting to do so, I plan to do it every single IA meeting we have. So get used to it. Because we can't have another year like last year. If we want to focus on the issues, we can talk about the issues all day. But we will not attack each other, whether it be amongst this board or whether it be someone at the lectern. So we can have the order that I'm trying to store within this meeting, because every time we come in here is something.
Mr. Chair,
I
respect your comments.
I'm not done yet. I'm not done.
I thought you were done,
so
sir.
If we're going to take once we take the vote is on whether or not we want to keep Robert's Rules of Order or bring back an agenda item to look at what we're doing currently and what we might want to change. That is the motion on the floor, okay? I'll recognize Commissioner Dozier. Any other commissioners want to speak?
Yes.
I'd like to speak.
I have Commissioner Williams-Cox and Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Dozier?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I started with, we don't want another year like we've had. Commissioner Richardson, I was just reflecting. I was quoting you. It was not a personal attack. I hope you didn't, it was a statement about that. Madam Attorney, when we talked about this, and it was in reference to one issue that came up at a recent meeting, you said that when asked, you will answer according to Robert's Rules of Order, but you weren't interrupting our discussion to point out here and there if we're not following Robert's Rules of Order. Now, to the chair's point, we could ask you to do that, but thus far, and it has not, I mean, I thought I heard you say this was really a board choice of whether or not we want to follow it, but when asked a direct question, you are going to adhere to the policy as you should, and we thank you for that. Is that correct?
Well, let me be clear. The chair has just stated that as a parliamentarian, he is behind me in making, decisions or giving directions to the board that are consistent with Robert's rules as we have adopted in our bylaws. And I'm gonna do just that. So, rather than looking at the past, he has said, go.
Well,
and now that he has given me that instruction and that backing, then I will do that.
On point to the
Okay.
question that's germane to the question that's being asked, anything that's in our bylaws is not an option. It's a policy that we go by, correct?
The bylaws that you have adopted Robert's rules as your procedure. As your
But
policy.
anything that's in in those bylaws is a policy that we have to adhere by,
Yes,
correct?
yes, unless
It's
you
not
amend the bylaws.
It's not an option.
Correct, unless you
Okay.
amend your bylaws.
So we've been operating outside of our bylaws.
For my
Because we haven't
entire
given her,
time on
we
the
have not
Blueprint
given her
Board.
the ability to do her job. Now, I'm telling her to do her job. Now, whoever comes after me, if they want to change that, they can change it. But I'm telling her it's okay to do her job. And if any commissioner in here has a problem with that, then I'm sorry. I'm chair. She has to do her job. So, Commissioner Dozier, I'm sorry. I just wanted a clarification that we don't have an option.
Mr. Chair, that's fine. That is not how this board has historically run. And I appreciate you not looking backwards, Madam Attorney. Mr. Chair, you've set your tone for this year. That was my entire intent of bringing this up, because rules have not been applied uniformly at this board. And I will do what some others have not done and not call names and not reflect on the past. But I will say this. A lot of it is directed towards me. I am interrupted an awful lot. My questions are stopped and asked if it is worthy of discussion at a particular point, when it does not happen to others. So I expect, Mr. Chair, for our rules to be applied uniformly, whether this motion moves forward or not. Reflecting on Robert's rules as a guideline, the county commission chose to do that last year, the full county commission. That was just an option this board has never discussed, because we've never followed Robert's rules to the letter. So that's the only question here. It's just an agenda item to outline that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dozier. Not only will I commit to you that everybody here will follow Robert's Rules of Order as long as I'm chair, I'll commit to you that I will govern these meetings the same way for every commissioner, based off of the way I think the conversation should flow. It's not going to be one commissioner over the other. I will be the same with everyone in here because I intend to be fair, and I think I'm a pretty fair person. So, Commissioner Williams-Cox and then Commissioner Jackson. All right.
I just wanted to make something on point. I wanted to thank Attorney Susan Dawson for my time as chair. When I called on her to help me make a decision regarding parliamentary procedure, which I am very familiar with. I'm a member and have been a leader and president and whatever else of many organizations who use Robert's rules and other bylaws to conduct business. Whenever, I don't consider myself an expert, but when I find myself where I had to question, she was always very on point. She provided quick answers to where we needed to be and what we needed to do. I'll go on to say the same thing for the city attorney. She also provides that kind of clarity as well. So I just wanted to say to them, to both of them, I appreciate your knowledge of Robert's rules to help reinforce my knowledge. But as chair of any organization, the parliamentarian who's the person performing in that role is not going to interrupt the chair and start telling other people in the room what to do. It is the chair who has the gavel. The parliamentarian operates in support to the chair. So if the chair looks to the parliamentarian, which is what I did many times, get what I need to get, and then move on with the order of the day. So I just wanted to say that, first of all, that Ms. Dawson has done an outstanding job. And I'm not just saying that because I knew her as an attorney in another life. She did an outstanding job there as well. And so I expected her to do the same here, and she has met every expectation that I had for this as chair. So I just wanted to say that publicly, that she has done an outstanding job in her role as attorney and parliamentarian.
Thank you, Madam Immediate Pass. And let me say this. My comments have nothing to do with the job that Ms. Dawson has done. I think she's done
I know
an
that.
absolutely
I'm just
amazing job.
stating for the record.
I just think, I know it's hard for staff, and I think Commissioner Dozier might articulate this in a bit, for staff to step in front of us when we get into a conversation. I know it's the chair's prerogative, but I'm giving her the ability to say, Mr. Chair, hold on for a second, we're not in order. So we all know that there is someone in this room to lead us in the right direction, even if I'm not. See, in my view of it, running by a strict Robert's Rules of Orders keeps me in check. So I don't just end up running the meeting the way I want to, ignoring people when I want to and stuff like that. That's what it's for. It's really keeping the chair in check as well. And so your job is to check me when I need to be checked and check this board when it needs to be checked. And I respect you as parliamentarians to do so. Commissioner Jackson.
I'd like to call the question.
Thank you, sir. The motion on the floor is for us to bring back an agenda item looking at Robert's Rules of Order, our board procedures, and seeing if there's any change. Madam Attorney, I don't believe there was an objection to call the question, so I just called it myself. All those in favor?
Sticking with Robert's Rules of Order,
Vote on the call of the question.
we need
Is there
to
a
go
second
ahead
to the
and
call to
vote
question?
on that.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to call the question. See, look at there, working already. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Question's been called. Commissioner Dozier's motion on the floor, which is, and seconded by Commissioner Porter, Commissioner Matlow, is for us to bring back an agenda item looking at our board procedures of Robert's Rules of Orders for board meeting and making any modifications necessary. Is that your motion, Commissioner Dozier? Yes. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. Do we need?
No.
Roll call.
Mayor Daley.
No.
Commissioner Matlow.
Aye.
Commissioner Porter.
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson. Commissioner Williams-Cox.
No.
Commissioner Cummings.
No.
Commissioner Dozier. Commissioner Jackson.
No.
Commissioner Minor.
No.
Commissioner Proctor.
Commissioner Welch.
Commissioner Welsh.
No.
Commissioner Maddox.
No.
Bill, sir.
All right. Commissioner Dozier?
That's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Richardson?
Actually, Mr. Chair, you can take me out of queue. Commissioner Dozier actually addressed both issues that I was bringing up to you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Matlow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Board. I recognize we do need to let cooler heads prevail. We don't always agree. Some of us might not even like each other, but I do believe we have to respect each other because that's the only way we can move the people's business forward. So I appreciate the robust conversation we had so far. My only question has been, as it relates to economic development proposals and having a clear policy. It's been it seems to me, inconsistent based on what proposals can get brought to the board, what proposals can get staff time dedicated in advance to really vet. I don't think citizens' comment at the beginning of the meeting is the appropriate way for us to be vetting proposals at this board. So I've asked previously Mr. Penegry to make sure we're giving everybody the same opportunity to present to the board and have it vetted to see if there's an economic impact of a proposal so we can be comparing apples to oranges. And so far, I don't think we have a policy that's clear enough to say how you can submit an application like some of the projects that we've seen come before us earlier this year and throughout the past 2 years. With respect to the proposal, we saw in public comment we can't really make a determination on it all because there's a lot of different organizations listed, there's a lot of different entities listed, and I don't know the economic impact value of any of those. So I would like to see us develop that front door application process so we can be consistent and everybody that applies, and as well as give this proposal an opportunity to be vetted like we've seen other proposals vetted and brought to us for an up or down vote. So I would make a motion that we, one, develop a written policy of how these proposals come before us, and two, give the proposal that we saw in public comment an opportunity to be vetted and brought for a vote.
Motion been made on the floor to look at a written policy as to how these economic development projects come to us, and also to give Mr. Sims' proposal, once that policy is written, the first opportunity to go through that process to be vetted and have the opportunity to come back. Commissioner Matlow, is that your motion?
Right. I would like to see an agenda item on this policy the way we've done previous FSU's proposal, TCC's proposal, but in tandem as we develop a policy, so we can shut the door and say you have to go through a process.
Okay. So I misrepresented your motion. Your motion is for the first part's correct, but the second part is that Mr. Sims' proposal be an agenda item that comes back to us, correct?
Chairman, I don't think that should be part of the motion.
Well, Commissioner Richardson, I understand, but Commissioner Matlow has the ability to make whatever motion he wants to. Is that your motion?
That was a motion, and
Yes.
the reasoning is I've been approached about this proposal for over a year now, and I understand it seems inconsistent with the process other people. So to be consistent with what has been brought to my office so far, go ahead and bring this forward for an up or down vote, but also develop a policy so we don't have this issue in the future.
Is there a second to the motion?
I second.
Motion's been seconded.
Mr. Chairman.
I want to make sure I completely understand.
Give me a second. Mr. Pingree, first question I have is there already a process, is that process written?
It depends on what the application is or what the proposal is. So each one of the examples that has been identified is somewhat different. For example, the FSU proposal, the convention center was outlined in the interlocal agreement. Other proposals that have come before the board and had action have been grant proposals, or they've come through existing grant opportunities. Mr. Sims previously applied for a grant that OEV had called the Elevate Grant. That grant has since been defunded. He actually received that grant, just by way of example. So each different grant fund, or bucket for lack of a better term, has its own rules and procedures. What is common for all of these, and going back and looking at this, is board direction to go and analyze it and bring it back as an agenda item. If I think back to the Innovation Park grant match, for example, or if I think back to the Appalachia Regional Planning Council grant match, or if I think back to the TCC request, or if I think back to FAMU's request, they came forward and there was board direction that was given for staff to go and analyze that, compare it to available budget, and bring that back as a agenda for your consideration. So that's the answer to your question.
So to answer your question, to make it plain, the process by which is for a project of the nature of what was submitted, that Commissioner Matlow made the motion for, there is no written process. What has happened is that it's been brought to us to, or a commissioner has asked for it to be analyzed and brought back to us in an agenda item, correct?
Right. There is no catch-all open call for economic development proposals policy.
And so,
and as I understand it, that's what I'm being, I understand that's what the motion is to bring back an analysis with the potential policy for sort of an all-call for economic development money.
okay. And that is your motion, correct?
Just for clarification, I'm not necessarily saying we open up an application process for every application that comes forward. I'm pointing out there's been some inconsistency in how different proposals have come forward. And I respect the board direction, but sometimes people have been provided the opportunity for more than 3 minutes at the beginning of a meeting before we saw any board direction. With respect to the convention center, while I do agree that was prior direction, Doak Campbell was something completely different. And that coming before us as an agenda item before having board discussion was unique, and it wasn't consistent with other proposals. So seeing as Mr. Sims was in the same position as an unsolicited proposal being brought forward, I think we go ahead and allow that to come for a vote. And my preference on a policy is we just shut off having unsolicited proposals come forward unless they come directly from a commissioner at the end of a meeting and sharing of ideas.
Thank you, sir. All right. Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think in this proposal, and Mr. Sims did share with me as last commissioner receiving this proposal, at the end of this proposal, he's filed a complaint. And that complaint largely indicates that staff has been non-responsive. And he's attempted to go through his approximation of an understanding of what you do. But our staff has blocked him and blocked us from receiving this proposal. And it receiving the uniform review, which typically others may have been given prior to being placed on an agenda for us to consider.
You said it did or did not, Commissioner Proctor?
I'm sorry?
You said it did or did not receive that review?
His proposal by our staff has not been vetted
Okay.
and allowed to come through to us for our attention. So we receive it directly, not because there's no process per se, but because this particular staff has not been responsive to him. So the process does not exist. I like to say that to the extent that we have a process which we've allowed Mango project with perfect anonymity to proceed, brought to our attention as a silhouette of an idea, identity of parties not known to us. And we've committed money to that silhouette, that it ought to be steps that when someone who is known to us is trying to get our attention, that we're able to know what the community is trying to submit. I would like for a response to the complaints that are filed. And I've never seen a proposal filed with a complaint, but I think he's attempting to explain why we've received this in hand. And I think that all of those concerns should be reviewed, because it should not be that Mr. Sims or any other citizen is hardball and stiffed out of reaching our attention. So to the motion on the floor, it seems that it creates a policy specifically in response to Mr. Sims. And while his proposal may be the catalyst which generates this motion, I think that it's almost wrong and that he should be grandfathered because he's attempted over the previous weeks to do whatever you're supposed to do. I don't know the process. I can't tell anybody in the world what to do to get on the blueprint agenda, whether or not to get a new project back on the table and spend some money. As Commissioner Dozier, I don't think she was out of line. It's just that you can just do whatever. That's what we do. So I can support the motion, but I'm hopeful that his is grandfathered and that we're not creating specifically because it's Stanley Sims.
That's the motion,
Commissioner Proctor, the motion on the floor, I'm sorry. The motion on the floor is for his proposal to be vetted by staff and brought back to us the way other proposals have in the past, not wait for the new process, correct,
Okay.
Commissioner Mallon?
That's correct.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes. All right, Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think something Commissioner Proctor just said kind of sums it up, and I have this challenge too. We probably all hear from people saying, they've got a good idea. They're wondering what types of programs might be open to an application, something like that. We've got CHSP grants, we've got COCA grants, we've got Visit Tallahassee, city's got other funding. we have these designated programs that have guidelines that let the community more broadly know what funding is available, and those goals typically follow city, county goals, culture and arts funding, something like that, right? Those guidelines are good. It helps us understand how much money is on the table for these different programs, evaluate different programs, but really needing to fit within what our overall objectives are for OEV and whether or not there's other funding out there. That's more generally. Mr. Sims' proposal I'll get to in a second. So I do struggle as well, letting people know kind of how to approach OEV. And part of that is because there's often some confusion in the community about our infrastructure side and our economic development side. Answer those questions a whole lot. So in general, I think having a way for our broader community to understand what the goals are, and if there are funds they could apply for, that would be good. I wonder if that's going to come out of the strategic plan development. I mean, that is really the perfect time, I believe, Ben, Christina, I mean, that we could dig into a policy direction for those types of, business ideas, entrepreneurial ideas, nonprofits, whatever it might be to support the goals of this organization. Would that be fair?
Mr. Chair, I think it's absolutely fair, and we've already seen it in the 5 years of OEV's existence. You have seen issues come forward, opportunities come forward, programs come forward, grants come forward. Some have gone through their life cycle and have concluded. Others remain ongoing, like Targeted Business Program, which was part and parcel to projects Juggernaut and Gold and Mango. When it comes to your question, I think that the strategic plan is absolutely the time for a refresh and a new analysis on the existing programs that we have, and are there new opportunities that exist? And then juxtaposing that with the available funds that exist in our budget. And sometimes there can be great ideas, but no funding. So we have to look at that, holistically, and that's exactly what the strategic plan team is doing.
And just to unpack that, thank you, Ben. I appreciate that answer. So just to unpack that a little bit more, most of those programs that we've had in the past, it may be for job creation, whether it's a targeted business program or some of the, and forgive me, Christina, I'm forgetting the grant name, but the incentive programs to create jobs within a certain area of our community, those types of things.
Yes, ma'am.
They've been very targeted. A business can apply for that. We haven't had kind of a general category where someone has an idea for job creation in a programmatic sense, like perhaps Mr. Sims, that could bring that forward, but for the 3 minutes. So for me, I think this is a better conversation to have during the strategic plan. I like having a specific direction, Commissioner Matlow, to bring back this discussion during strategic planning discussion in September and in December. I think it will take us, time to reflect on the plan and all of that. So I can get there with you on that one. As for Mr. Sims, and I know you've been working on this a long time, and you've come to us, and I appreciated your slide today and everything else. I am concerned about moving forward because we have funding issues right now. We're committing a lot of dollars, and we don't have that program that allows for anyone in the community to come in and present those ideas. It is a stronger proposal from Mr. Sims or anyone else if they fit within those guidelines, and we know we got the money to commit. I think it protects our citizens and their ideas, but also us, because we'd kind of be reflecting on a very large ask without all the rest of the details about our overall programs in the next few years. So I know that is a struggle. Stanley, I just got to speak to you personally because I appreciate how hard you've worked on this over the years. I just got this today, what you gave me, and would need to look at it a little bit more. So it's, I think we got work to do as a board. The last thing I'm going to say, Mr. Chair, is and I'm not rehashing past debates. I can lose a fair vote, and I do it all the time. I'm also on the prevailing side an awful lot, so no one get any ideas about that. And I wasn't going to bring this up today, Mr. Chair, but it is germane to this conversation. The FAMU president came in, and we had commissioners working with FAMU to make that request. The TCC president came into our chambers and made a request. I understand, I do. We've talked about it, Ben. The idea that there was precedent for higher ed funding for sports, and that's why we didn't see FSU president or others come in to make that request. From my perspective, without having a category for higher ed funding that we discussed as a board, the precedent was the president of FAMU coming into these chambers and asking us. The precedent was the president of TCC coming into these chambers and asking us. I did not mention this during the discussion because we were talking about the substance of it. It had already been done. But this question, the guidelines, whether you're the president of a university or somebody that's got a great idea, it needs to be fair. So I do think we need to work on this, but I think it's going to take some time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment? Commissioner Proctor.
Commissioner Cummings' hands.
Commissioner Cummings, I'm sorry.
No, I'll wait.
Commissioner Proctor.
Chairman, Commissioners, I think that Commissioner Dozier touched on a couple things. The fact that I can't explain intelligently to anybody how you get on the blueprint, get some money, I don't know. And I think that with respect to a particular court trial occurring in our community, possibly as we sit here, that we need to establish with greater clarity what is the process. And a picture is being painted daily with respect to some people's perception of how business is done and how you get things done in our community. And while people's perceptions differ, for some, that process that's being placed in the court as to whether or not how proper it was, we deserve to project with clarity different boards. We sit at the same table today. I think we're the IA today. We met yesterday and we were something else. And these different ways in which monies and process of who comes and all of that, while the spirit generally is to be helpful to the community, we understand economic development. But when you got something that's occurring at the level exposure that we got now, reflective of our processes of how you get things done, we need commissioners to make clear and to have great clarity about our processes, because to the extent that we don't, we remain, in my humble thought, potentially jaded in a gray zone. Is this what we are about? Is what we do? So what does the CRA do? There ought to be some clarity. What does the city spending policies, and how do you get a contract with the county? What do you do with the IA? All of that needs to be laid out, because right now a whole lot looks stink and smells stink. And while I've been at the table, things going on that I've not been aware of, Commissioner Richardson's not been aware of, Mayor Daley has not been, Mayor Dozier, all of us, our time overlapping with certain events. Yet we all are besmirched by the non-clarity and the fact that I had to go to the stand and try not to test a lie and testify. I couldn't with clarity say what the process is. I don't know. So I need clarity, so that if I have to go down to court and say what I think, I don't know. So those are great issues which impugn all of us, and which we're compelled to have that understanding, articulated to anybody. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Before you
Mr. Chair,
speak,
I
Madam.
would be remiss if I didn't
Yeah.
share with the board that there is a statutory provision that deals with the expenditure of economic development dollars, and that's section 212.055. And it states that in order to spend those economic development surtax dollars on various projects that you have approved and given us the direction to move forward on, they have to serve a general public purpose to improve the local economy. That's been the basis of everything that we've done related to the economic development dollars pursuant to your direction. So even though we haven't had like a written policy like some of our other policies that
Right.
you've approved, the process and the procedure has been consistent with the statutory requirement in 212 to spend those surtax dollars. So it has to have a general public purpose of improving the local economy, which is why we do the CFA analysis and the other analysis through OEV, and we have provided that to you. So there is something that you could take to the court, if need be, and be able to stand on that. We have followed statutory requirements.
And I
Thank
would
you, Madam
just
Attorney.
No,
Just
I need
being
to
real
build
quick,
on that.
real quick,
Very
real quick.
quickly.
Okay.
We also have a strategic plan that you have adopted.
Yes.
Every project is compared against that. Every project is brought forward before this board. As Commissioner Dozier has indicated, major requests have been made before the board. When it comes down to competitive projects, you have approved policies on how that work is to be done. So I want to be very clear that this board has touched these issues. If this motion passes, more than happy to bring back an agenda item, talk about how that works, talk about how anything in the future could come back, and if I understand the motion correctly, generate one new agenda item just to look at what Mr. Sims has presented before you today. The motion includes both of those things, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I want you guys, I don't want it to be misconstrued that it's arbitrary how other projects have come back to us. Be real clear, Commissioner Dozier said it. FAMU's president came up and asked us to entertain the FAMU project, the stadium project. There's a motion and second, it passed it, and we entertained it and passed it. TCC did the same. They came and asked us to entertain it at that lectern right there, and I think they might have took 3 minutes to do so. We went through the same process. Now, the FSU project was slightly different because we already had $20 million on the books for the convention center. From what I understood from staff in my briefing, they just asked that we repurpose those dollars to go towards the stadium project, which was slightly different because then at that point, they didn't come and stand in lecture and ask us. They went to staff and asked for the possibility of an agenda item to come back for us to look at spending that $20 million in a different way. Either way, I think that what Mr. Sims has done today falls in line with what has been done in the past with projects that want to actually get on our agenda, by which him coming, standing before us, asking us to look at a project, motion second been made, and then that project going through the process that every other project that has come before us, and we've made a motion second to look at, goes through, which is the IMC, the Citizens Board, and then comes back to us. So there's no arbitrary nature by which these things have happened. There's been a process per se. I think what Commissioner Matlow, what you said, no project comes back to us unless a commissioner makes a motion, is seconded, and then we send it through the process is what you would prefer. That's what you said, correct?
Yep.
That's the way things have been in the past, is that nothing's come before us that we have not asked to come before us in terms of a new project. Now, what we're asking for is a process by which something can go through a process prior to coming to us without our asking for it to come back to us, and then that comes back to us is what we're asking for right now. I like what you said at first. If a citizen has something or an organization has something in town that they want us to look at and vet, they come stand before us. We make a decision as commissioners whether or not we want to send that through staff, through the IMC, through the Citizens Board to come back to us for a vote, and then we vote it up or we down and we go. That's the order that's been placed, and I think that's actually a good order for us to go in. Because what you end up having is you'll end up having people submit 1 million different projects to our staff. Those projects go through a process through staff. and then staff make a decision of whether or not it comes to us before it even goes to the IMC, and then staff being called all kinds of names because they didn't let it get through IMC and us because it didn't follow the initial guidelines that we had set out to say in order for the project to be vetted by staff, it has this, that, and the other. So where we sit on making a decision like this is a very, very slippery slope. I mean, we are policymakers in charge of making decisions about how we expend dollars and the policies by which we expend those dollars. Unless we have a very tight set of rules, just like we have on all of our other programs, as to what it takes for a project to go through staff before it comes to us. Because I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that there's any other infrastructure, economic development process that we have that if it doesn't come from us, you vet it before it comes to us, correct?
The only one that I can think of is your competitive projects. If a company, for example, wants to either stay here and they're looking at other places, or like with Mango, they're looking at potentially here or other places, and they come to your local economic development office and say, hey, here's what we're thinking of. We need a land of this size. We need a building of that size.
Right.
Here's the CapEx we're going to invest. Here are the jobs we're going to create. You have already authorized as a board incentives for those kinds of companies. That does not come to you first. Doesn't have to. But for these other things that have been mentioned, it comes to you first for direction to say, that is a new concept, whether it was the LCRDA saying, hey, we've got a great concept.
Right.
We're going after a federal grant for it, for a business incubator, and that came before us, and then there was a request made at this body to say, staff, go and analyze that and bring it back. We did that. We looked at how the available funds were, and you acted on that.
But still, there was no analysis of it prior to us making the decision to tell you to go and not.
Yeah, with the
Exactly.
exception of a
So-
competitive project, it comes
Right.
to you first.
So here's the thing. I don't have anything against Mr. Sims' project, okay? Nothing at all. But here's the thing. I can't vote for this motion because I don't want an extra process. We already have a process that works. It goes exactly like you said. If it doesn't come from us, we don't spend staff time on it. If this process, if this passes, staff would be spending time on projects that we haven't necessarily asked them to spend time on. And staff has enough to do with how many projects we got left for you guys to look at?
We have 15 in the queue competitively,
Right.
and then we have all the ones you've already
I
authorized.
I want them to focus on, if it's gonna be something extra, I want it to come from us, and we told you to do it, not anything other than that. Commissioner Matlow.
Just on
And
point.
I'm sorry, you on
Sorry.
point?
Yeah.
Not on point, I'm going to.
Just on point on the policy recommendation by me would be exactly what you just said, to where we'd have a written policy that staff doesn't work on anything outside of the specific project categories that we've already put in the policy, and no outside funding request would come before the board without an unsolicited project wouldn't come out without being suggested by a commissioner. I would just say, just put that into writing. I'm not saying
Okay.
we need to create a whole new policy.
Okay, see, I didn't understand it to be that. If that's the motion, is the second still okay with that motion? Who's
I
second?
second it.
Okay,
I second
okay.
it.
Commissioner Cummings?
Yes. May I speak,
Yes,
please?
ma'am, you have the
Thank you,
floor.
Mr. Chair. I am totally in favor of the policies, the process, rather, for projects to come before this body, or projects going before the blueprint to be in writing. Primarily because I believe all citizens, entities, businesses, corporations should be on notice of the process, number one. But number two, I think we as publicly elected officials, we want to be sure that everybody is treated fairly. I believe equally, they're on notice. So I don't believe it's a big issue if we have a bifurcated process as far as the procedures are concerned. Or it could be a three-pronged procedure. One, a procedure for groups, entities, individuals to come before the body with a proposal, but there should be certain criteria, meet certain criteria to do that. There should be a certain criteria to go straight, in my opinion, to straight to blueprint to be vetted. Whatever that criteria is, I just believe it should be in writing so the public, TCC, FAMU, Stanley Sim, we're all on notice. And then if we have individuals coming to us, what is the process? I've been asked, what is the process? I don't know. Let's get a copy of the process. But I believe it's incumbent upon us to have a written process. It might be 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. And I understood Commissioner Matlow's motion, and my second was for blueprint to generate that process. And I don't think we're pigeonholing you. I think it should be general and wide open. Okay. Second comment about Mr. Sims' proposal that we have today. Many of you all know that I have had a presence in Frenchtown for over 30 years. My business has been there right in the heart of Frenchtown. Okay. And I think we all agree that Frenchtown is still in need of revitalization. Businesses need to be revitalized so that we have an economic impact in that section of Tallahassee. We want all sections of Tallahassee to be vibrant. I looked at Mr. Sims' proposal, and I'm not the expert as far as analyzing the proposal, but it appears to me what he has done is taken a holistic approach to Frenchtown. In this proposal, there are faith-based individuals, there's restaurants, beauty shops, pharmacies, nonprofits. To me, that's holistic, looking at the entire spectrum to see what can be done to vitalize Frenchtown, okay? And from that respect, I believe that this proposal merits some analyzation by Blueprint, OEV. It needs some analysis. I have questions, and unfortunately, I can't ask Mr. Sims questions. My concern would be all the individuals and groups that are included in this project, how would their involvement? Or we were talking about specific contracts with them, some oversight. Do we have specific goals and objectives that are measurable, that we could say this is really uplifting the local economy, specifically to the Frenchtown area? So I believe it is worth, in my opinion, which is why I second the motion, vetting, looking at it, getting staff's opinion about any modifications to it, and give it a chance. So, which is why I support Commissioner Matlow's motion on both of those issues. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I want to make a quick, correct myself real quick. Mr. Sims, I said I see nothing wrong with your project. I haven't read through your project to know if there's anything wrong with it. I see nothing wrong with it being analyzed by staff, given the fact that it's gone through the process that we're about to, I believe, formalize in policy that we've used in the past. And so I did want to correct that statement because I don't want to give any indication that I have already made a decision that I'm just going to go ahead and pass this thing, whether or not it's pass it as is, whether or not there's some things in it I don't agree with. So I do believe it deserves the ability to go through the same process as everybody else has and to be analyzed as such. And so I can go with today bringing back that agenda item. And I do like the idea of, and thank you for clarifying, formalizing the approach that we have taken in the past so everybody knows what it is. Any other comments on it? Commissioner Dozier, final comment.
Just very quickly, Mr. Chair. I really appreciate this discussion. Thank you all for digging into it. Ben, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to pick on you just for a second. When you said our staff has a lot of projects to work on, you immediately went, yeah, we've got 15 active and others. Those are infrastructure. Yes, it is what all of you are working on, but were you talking about 15 active OEV projects?
No,
or-
and for the record, Christina corrected me.
Okay.
It's 13, and
Thank
no,
you.
I was speaking of competitive economic development projects.
Competitive economic development projects.
Not
okay.
including the economic development grants and projects. In addition to that, you've already authorized as the board.
Because there's yeah, right.
Yeah.
I was thinking of 15 on infrastructure and a whole heck of a lot more on OEV with all of these various things going on. I mentioned that, Mr. Chair, just because this speaks to how even at the table, we hear a number and kind of conflate infrastructure and OEV side. I mean, OEV is unique. Yes, I appreciate the statutory language you read, Madam Attorney. There may be elements of this proposal, and I did just glance through it right now, but I just want to, for the record right now, I could get there with board direction, as you all have described. I won't rehash that. Somebody comes in, makes a suggestion, we take a vote. Just based on what I looked at today, I can't support moving forward because I'm not sure we can set the precedent to purchase property, to purchase vehicles. There's a lot in this proposal that might be really good. And Commissioner Cummings, you mentioned the holistic perspective. That is good. It covers a lot of territory, and the need is absolutely there. But I have questions about what we can fund. And over the years, as I've talked to Mr. Sims, this proposal looks a lot larger than what I have seen in the past. So I just wanted to state that before the vote, that my concern about moving forward right now is not just that looking at the strategic plan and our long-term funding, but I don't want to make a commitment to anyone that there is a valid proposal that we could vet that includes purchasing property and purchasing vehicles without taking some due diligence to make sure that's what we can and want to do. And that would be unfair to Mr. Sims to imply that we can absolutely look at this and this is something we would consider funding. So I do appreciate in general, vetting this policy, this proposal, and if it moves forward, I expect those details about the property and the vehicles to come back. But that's my 2-second look at it during this meeting, and that's why I'm really wanting more of a policy direction, even if our policy direction guides future board action. That's fine. We don't need that extra little program step. But I think we need to talk about what we do and can and can't fund going forward. And that happens in strategic planning.
Commissioner Cummings, you on point?
I'm very on point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I don't view moving forward with this motion as the board sanctioning anything other than sending it for review and analysis. And I think that might include modifying it, cutting things out, that type thing. So I'm hoping that that's the sentiment of the members at the table as well, that is for their review. I'm not able to do it sitting here in this short length of time. I'm not trying.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Final comment.
Also on point. I'm having a little trouble grappling with, we got two things that we got a major and then we're dragging something along with it. I would be more comfortable if we want to see the process, let that be one decision. And then come back and say that the Mr. Sims' proposal, separate from this decision here, that his proposal and others will come in and follow that process. I'm having trouble with the piggyback effect here. If we're going to do this, we want to know the process so we can talk about it in the grocery store with people who ask, then that's fine. But I don't want to have to then say, but for Mr. Sims' proposal, this is what we did. I want to be able to say, this is what we did, and then have Mr. Sims' proposal come separate and apart from this decision and go through.
Commissioner Matlow, the motion is yours. Do you want to keep it combined, or?
I'm happy to take separated into two separate motions and take them up separately. My concern on this specific proposal is that it has been being discussed for a year as other proposals have moved forward, and the requests were made to me was to be treated equally as things that they've seen happening throughout the year. So I said, let's go. I don't have a policy to point you to word for word,
Understood.
so let's go ahead and take it up. We'll give you an up or down vote, have it vetted. I'm not making any commitment to vote for it or against it at all at this time, but I do agree. Maybe it needs changing. Maybe it's a good proposal. Maybe it's a bad proposal. Maybe it creates economic impact. Maybe it doesn't. We don't know any of those details. So I'll
Commissioner,
withdraw
what I
my
need you to
first
do is, I
motion,
withdraw it, and then
I'll make
Amend it, maybe?
I'll make a first motion to give staff the opportunity to vet the proposal and bring it back to us as an agenda item.
All right, motion been made to vet Mr. Sims' proposal and bring it back as an agenda item, sending it through the
Mr.
process.
Chairman.
Everything else is
I'll
gone through.
second.
Seconded by Commissioner
Has
Cummings.
the original motion
Yes,
been
it's been withdrawn,
withdrawn? and
yes.
the
He withdrew
second
it.
Was withdrawn?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Both have been
I
withdrawn.
didn't hear that. I'm
All
sorry.
those in favor, actually, I want to go, all those in, you want to do a roll call, or you want to go with the vote?
For this, let's just see how it goes.
All right, all those in favor of the motion on the point indicate by saying aye.
Restate
Aye.
I was going to say,
Aye.
there was some confusion about what.
Oh, I'm
for me,
sorry, the
what
motion on the
was.
floor, I'm sorry, the motion on the floor is to vet Mr. Sims' proposal. Made by Commissioner Matlow, seconded by Commissioner Cummings. Everybody understand the motion on the floor?
Yes.
All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion, Commissioner Welch, were you opposed?
I am for it.
All right, motion carries, 12-1. It will be vetted and brought back by staff.
Agenda item. Yes.
As agenda item, yes, sir.
Sorry, it can't be 12, you mean 11.
I'm saying 11-1, I'm sorry.
And then I'd also make a motion that we have an item come back addressing our policy for new proposals. It's my position to do what we've been doing and just codify it. I'm open to suggestions otherwise to be discussed.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we bring back a policy formalizing our,
New economic development proposal.
yes, new economic development proposal process. All those in favor of the motion on the floor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion.
Yes.
Motion carries 12 to, well,
11-1.
no, it looked like, you say nay, Commissioner Welch?
I am yes on both of those.
Okay, so 11-1.
He's delayed, Mr. Chairman.
Delayed.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
now that we've done that, I think it's very important that, I heard some conversation today about some past decisions, and we're right, we don't want to go back there. But for the future, I think that it is important to note that along with that analysis, there was some financial data that was provided that showed what has been the impact in the past and the projected impact of the future of these items. So I want to make sure that in that analysis that we're going to include it. And in case in point, the FAMU stadium, it was known that what the financial impact of this community, what that was, and it was also known what it would have meant if FAMU could not play in that stadium this year, that those dollars would have gone somewhere else. So in that analysis, it's going to be important that we need not just projected that it could happen. We need to see proof that it will happen so that we will understand in making this decision what we're really doing with these precious dollars. And I have no preconceived notions. I know Mr. Sims and those companies, the businesses that he's working with, they'll be able to provide that information. I'm just saying we need to make sure that we have all of that kind of analysis done going forward.
That is normal procedure and will be done here, right, correct?
That is absolutely
Yes, Commissioner
correct.
Proctor, you are next, but Commissioner Dozier's on cue. Commissioner Proctor, do you still want the floor?
What am I- what am I on cue
Commissioner,
for, Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Dozier on point?
I needed to
Mr.
correct
Chairman,
the
I don't
record.
want to miss my
You need to what?
opportunity
Correct the
to
record on
say
the-
something for the public record.
Commissioner
What am I on
Proctor,
cue
Commissioner
for?
Proctor, she's on point. Go ahead, correct the record.
With begging forgiveness from my friend Mr. Sims over there, I voted with the mayor against the motion.
Okay, so
it
it's
was
10-2. 10-2.
Thank you.
Commissioner Proctor, I'm sorry.
Chairman, did I indicate I was going to say something?
Yes, sir, you did.
I can't remember. I'm so old. This took so long.
No, he says he got in queue earlier. But if you forgot, though, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Well, you said it's going to be at the party. I'm going to Carolyn Cummings' party right immediately follow this meeting.
Man, look here. Motion been made to adjourn, seconded. Any objection? Motion carries. Thank you.
Cupcakes, please, everybody.